Good afternoon, everyone. How you all doing? Welcome back to another Teacher Tech Club. So good to have you all in the house with us today as we continue into our third week. So once again, the goal of Teacher Tech Club is to inspire and empower teachers to integrate technology effectively to increase student engagement and achievement in the classroom. And if you've been with us over the last few weeks, you know that we were looking at the SAMR model for technology integration, and it talks about the different levels in which you can integrate technology, starting with the substitution. The substitution is where the tech acts as a direct tool substitute with no functional change. Augmentation is where the tech acts as a direct substitute with some functional improvement. And then modification is what we're going to do today, where the tech allows for significant task redesign. And finally, what we'll do next week is redefinition, where tech allows for the creation of new tasks previously inconceivable. And the SAMR model is divided into two main groups where you are enhancing the lesson or you transform your lesson. We looked at the S, which is substitution, where substitution replaces a current technology with a new one. And the question it asks is this: what will I gain by replacing the task with new technology? And if you look at that comic that's there, you see it here. The lady is saying our computers are down, so we have to do everything manually. And you see she's playing solitaire manually. And when we think about what we learned about the substitution method, the substitution level, it's just a matter of substituting old tech with new tech or no tech with some sort of technology where there's no functional change. Then last, we look at augmentation, where it functionally improves the task by using technology. And it asks this particular question: does the tech add new features that improve the task? And this week, we will be looking at modification. And the modification model is where the task is redesigned by the technology being used. And it asks a question: does the task significantly change with the use of the tech? Does the task significantly change? So with modification, technology allows for significant task redesign. The task is difficult to achieve without technology, and technology modifies the product, making the experience memorable for students. So when we look at these three things, the second point that says the task is difficult to achieve without technology. Remember when we did substitution, we talked about how you can use a regular hard copy worksheet, and then you can substitute it for a digital worksheet. It's still the same thing. If you still need to get a grade, you may not need a digital worksheet. You can still use the paper worksheet and still get the same results. All right, and then when we look at the augmentation part of it, the augmentation part of it just adds a little more functionality, like when we looked at the e-readers, something that will perhaps give you a, it can read it for you, or you can spread the text out so that you can read it better, help with syllables and all of that. That's what we looked at last week. And with modification, it's telling us that the task is difficult to achieve without technology. All right. And I like the last point that talks about how this the modification helps to make the experience more memorable for students. And you'll see what I'm talking about as we move on. So just always pulling back to our Bloom's taxonomy and understanding, where these types of activities will fall, when you start planning for your Blooms. And with modification, it falls along the applying, analyzing, and evaluating levels of the Bloom's taxonomy. And these are some of the verbs. You know how we like to hold on to these verbs that the modification level will help us with. We have really discuss, defend, evaluate, critique, rank, debate, rationalize, verify, select, give your opinion. All right, all of these, when we now add technology to the mix of it, helps the experience to be from the modified level. So let's get to the nitty gritty of it, and let's actually find and discuss some modification activities. So the first one that I'd like to show you is using hyperdocs and tooltips to share information. Now, all of my people, I need you to forgive me, those of you who struggle with internet access to school and even access for devices at school. Once we cross over that line where we talk about enhancement to transformation, a lot of the tools that we use will be internet-based. And a lot of the tools, a lot of the activities would require either, students to have their devices or at least some sort of device that they can use. But one of the things that I will do in terms of teaching you or guiding you through this process is think about how you can modify your teaching using the tools that I will show you, okay? And I am going to share with you an example of a hyperdoc and what it means and then how we make it. All right, so you can see my Word document, right? All right, so a hyperdoc is a document with hyperlinks built into it. That's it. That's why we call it hyperdoc, a document with links built into it. So here I have a story about a day at the beach. Now, one of the things to make this, modify the lesson, either you can have your students, when they type their lesson, they can now link words to pictures or link. Remember when we saw last week that picture dictionary feature in using the Microsoft tools? But this is a way that they can actually create their own. So I've created some links already, and then I'll show you how to do it so you can see what it's all about. So one sunny day, I went to the beach. So let's click on to beach and see what happens. It takes me to a beach, right? Let's go back to the document and let's see. One sunny day, I went to the beach with my family. I went with my mom and dad and my little brother. We had so much fun. We built sand castles. Now let's see where it's going. When I click on it, it took me to sand castle. Now, let's think about how we can use this in the classroom, this particular feature inside the classroom. Some of you may decide to share notes with your students, and rather than putting all of the content in one document like this, they can now click on to get an extension, and they get to explore sites on their own. They get to explore pictures and images for discussion on their own without you having to put it all inside this document here. Another reason too is the students themselves, they get to build their own story. All right, and they add in their hyperlink, and you're going to have to show it. And a lot of these things that I'm showing you today, the students won't automatically know how to do. You won't automatically know how to do it. So it's going to take a lot of modeling, okay? Modeling, modeling, modeling. So let's talk about how we create that hyperlink. I am going to make a hyperlink for the word swimming. All right, I want an image, a picture for hyperlink for swimming. So I'm just going to go to my trusty Google, and I'm going to put in swimming, and I'm just going to find some images. I like this one right here with Cutie Pie Baby Boy. And that's my image. Everyone seeing me? Great. So once I find my image, I right click onto it. When you right click onto it, this is like where we usually go and copy and paste it right into the document. But I don't want to copy the image. I want to copy the image address, because the image address is actually that link that I want. So when I come down here, here is the image address. copy that image address. And then, all right, so here is the image address. I just pasted down here for us so that you can see it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the word swimming, because this is the word that I want to link to this address. Then I go to insert on my in Word, and then I come here to links, and I want to link. When I click on to link, it now asks me where this text that I want to display is swimming. Where do I want it to link? I want it to link to a web page or a file. And once I click onto that and I insert the link document, the link into there, I press OK. Now you see the hyperlink appears. Now, once I click onto this, it takes me to my baby boy. That's how we create links. Now let's talk about some other ways that you can use this link feature. Let's say you have some videos, you're doing a study guide for your students that you're gonna send out via email. And you are doing a topic on, what's it, something in math, fractions. You found a video on YouTube. You can just copy that hyperlink from the YouTube, and then right underneath there, you could say, let's say, fractions video. And rather than putting this whole link down here for the students to see in their document, or your parents or whoever it is that you're sharing with, you do the exact same thing. Let's see, let's go to YouTube. And let's pull up a fraction video. And I'm just going to pick the first one I find. Let's try Mr. Mathematics. And I'm going to take that link.
There's no such thing as a perfect writer. This is why
and go back to my Microsoft document, because the link is now copied on the clipboard. I come right back here, select the word that I want to become the link, come here, link. I'm linking to a web page or file. There you go. Okay, now it's linked. You can also do the same thing if it was an image and you want them to click onto the image and it takes them to another location. All right, that's how hyperlinks work. And this is why it's called a hyper document, because it's a document, but it's linked to all kinds of different things and that it can be extended. All right. Now, another cool way for you to use HyperDocs is to use the feature called Tooltip. So look at what happens when I hover over the word dolphin. What do you see? It's a definition of dolphin, or it tells you about the dolphin. I also have another one here, adventure. And adventure is an exciting experience that is typically a bold, sometimes risky undertaking. So you see what I'm doing here? I'm now putting the definition for words inside the document. So as a student read the document, they may be unfamiliar with the word. Once they hover over it, then without having to go to the dictionary or without having to go elsewhere, they can find the definition for the word. Now, for this process, it takes a few more steps than what we did for the link just now. Let's do the word. Let's do the words scary. That's the word I'm looking for, scary. So what I'll do is I'll go to my browser and I am going to look for scary definition, or if you have your own definition, I'm just going to cheat and I'm going to copy this one right here from the dictionary site that says frightening, causing fear. Then I go back to my document. Okay, so scary is here. This time, when I go to link, I'm not going to the links button. I have to go here to bookmark. And when I go to bookmark, I have to create a new bookmark for this word. This word is going to be, this bookmark is going to be scary. All right, and I will add it. Now it went into the bookmark library. When I go to link, that's where. Now I go to the link. Then I see screen tip. If you didn't bookmark it, it wouldn't be there in screen tip. Okay, so I press screen tip, and screen tip is the name of that yellow box. So that's where I want the definition to go. So I'm going to paste that inside there. The screen tip is what you want to appear in that yellow box when they hover over it. Now it asks me, where do you want this to be linked to? It's not going to be linked to an external website. It's going to be linked to a bookmark right here in this document. And which bookmark will I use? Scary, right? So I click on the scary and I say, okay. Now we have a link. It doesn't go anywhere but right here. Once you hover over it, there is the word giving you the definition. All right. So one of my favorite hyperlink type programs that I like to use on the internet is called ThingLink. There you go. So here is the ThingLink, and you'll see that it's tagged with different things. So once I click onto that picture and say check it out, and it can give you more details on each of these images. So with an image like this, with ThingLink, you can embed more multimedia onto a single image. All right? All right, so now we move on to our next activity. We will be talking about using images to tell a photo story. Okay? Most times we ask students to write their narratives about, a day at the beach or their summer vacation or something like that. But what if we ask students to make a photo story? Now, this is usually any of like PowerPoint presentation, PowerPoint. You can use Google Slides. If you're using the Kindle tablets, they also have documents to go, and they also have this one called Video Maker. Now, I'm going to share my screen with you one more time here on the Zoom window, and I'm going to present to you a photo story, and I want to see how you will follow along with this story. All right? Oh, it has no words, but I know that you will know what's going on. All right, follow me with my story. It's no words. Everyone seeing it? Put thumbs in the camera. A Day at the Beach, that's the only title. Good. Follow the story with me. All right, that's the end of my story. What you think? How many of you got the story? How many of you got the narrative? You followed along, right? Now, don't you think your kids would love making a story like this? You know how sometimes you tell them, write the story, and they give you two little cheesy details? Like, what's up with that? And then even if it's a process, like a mathematical process or a science process that you want students to show, they can show the different steps and they create a photo story. So let's talk about how we actually did this. Once again, this is simply PowerPoint, PowerPoint, PowerPoint. So this is the one that's in my browser. So you'll see that it's right there, Microsoft Office Online, and that's what you actually have free built into your Microsoft, in your ministry account. Once you use your ministry account, you have Microsoft Office, the entire suite, for free online. And so will your students. And all I did was just put in my pictures on a separate slide. So let's create a new slide. And let's see what's going to happen next in this story. I'm going to get a blank slide. Now the shark is going to come. So let's go back to my, and for me in my story, I think I'm going to say, let me look at shark attack and see. I don't really want the sharks to attack. I just want it to come really close. Ooh, like this one. Open that bigger for me. So let's copy that image. Oh, wait. I was showing you the reason. I know why I sent you in here. Here, because inside PowerPoint Online, you can go to Insert and you can go to Pictures and you can just go to Bing Pictures. You don't have to go to Google like I did just now. You can just go here and type in what you want, shark attack. And it goes through the whole Creative Commons part. I want a close call. Let's go to this one here. I wanted to show that it was a close call. So now this will be the next part of my story. And I could see that we're probably getting away. And so now I just need to think about, I go again, new slide. And I want to insert a picture. And see if your students are doing this, in order for them to find the picture that is best, they're going to have to also be creative. So I want to say shark from the shore, because that will show me that I'm safe. But you get the picture, because I will stay here and look through pictures for a very long time. But you get the point, right? And this is actually a nice activity that you can do as a whole class activity before you try break off into small groups for students to do it. You know, and this is what I'm saying, you're gonna have to model for them. So like I said, that's a narrative writing. And this can be primary school, preschool, straight up to secondary school when it comes to your writing. If it's a science and it's a science process that you wanna talk about, you wanna talk about the effects of erosion and all of that, do it without words. And how many of you feel that activity like this will be memorable for students? You can pull in your vocabulary, you can pull in using synonyms to describe the words, and that when it's time for them to actually reproduce that in text form, I think that they will do a pretty good job at it. The next way that we can modify the way that we not only teach, but students learn is the way that we present the content. So here on your Nearpod screen, you can see our traditional book report format that we usually give students to say, okay, fill in a book report on this or whatever. But there are lots of, if you just Google newspaper template, like this one that I use for this particular Fox, Frog, and Toad newspaper, is actually a Word template that I was able to download free from Microsoft Word. I will put the link for it inside I will put a link for it inside the newsletter that's coming, but if you can't wait on me, you just Google newspaper template or newspaper maker or something like that online. And now you can see the information is presented differently. The product is a bit different. So rather than I'm just writing this boring long, what happened next, what happened first, build it out like a newspaper. And you know, you're giving some students some skills they may could use later on in life. What you think? You may be surprised to see how you get your graphic artists, and you'll find out who your budding journalists are. Another way that we can use modification, or the way that we modify the way that we teach, is through using mind mapping tools. Now, this particular activity is story elements. You see, it's a bit blurry, but we use a mind mapping tool to give story elements rather than who is the character, what was the setting. The students now present it in a different way. And like I said, you can present it in a different way when you teach it. All right, and this is using a mind mapping tool, and we're going to get to it. Here is another way that we can do a mind map, talking about the elements of a fairy tale. All right, so you see how fairy tales, you have your characters, and most of the times there are some numbers built into it, and then you have some magic, you have time, you have places, and you know, they're able to see the story in this particular format. All right, now let's look at it in a science example. Here we're talking about vertebrates. And we can now mind map and we can stretch it out and we can see how is it that we can describe and understand more about vertebrates. You have the amphibians and the reptiles and fish and mammals and birds, and they can keep going on, keep expanding. And now if they had to take this mind map now and turn this into a essay, it's pretty, they can follow it, right? But see, as a teacher, you have to make sure that when you show them how to do this, when you model for them what this mind map is all about, you have to also model for them how to translate this into a narrative. So I can start off by saying there are 5 vertebrate groups, and the amphibians. The first group is the amphibians. It is the class Amphibia. And it is la 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 la. Then I go into the next, and you can actually help your students in terms of structuring their content when it is time for them now to give it back to you. And let me tell you something too. These images, don't downplay using images in your lesson in this type of way, because you could present all of this information on this mind map in notes. You know it, in text form. Or you can build something like this and tell the children go study and then give them a test. Which one do you think? I know which one I would prefer to study from. But now we're also giving students another way that they can get the information that they need. And I know you haven't been doing it. It's just because you didn't know about this option, but now that you know, I'd love to see you. And if you can't draw, even if you're not using technology per se, and you're drawing it on a board with your stick man and your stick dog, I always draw the stick and then put the word on the side and tell my children, this is my frog. This is how my frog looks. So don't tell me this, the frog don't look like this. So give it and make it visual for students. So here's another one on the skeletal system, saying another science example. And you can see how you can branch it out to make, to really present the content in a different way for your students. This is from MindMeister, where you see a blank mind map. And I put here a life of a teacher. And I can see that I have 23 people already on with me. Good. So you use this plus button. And then you come, wait, that's the heading. Now we're going to add a tab. The life of a teacher. I'm going to do it. You can start working on this if you have something. Very busy. Nice. Always working hard. I think always working hard is also maybe it's a branch of being very busy. So maybe you'd want to connect that with very busy, you know. And see, these are the kinds of conversations that you can have with your students as they begin to organize their thoughts and lay it out. And like I said, if this is science, you know, or math, or can we look at math and we want to talk about what's the thing, solid shapes and the different things and objects that we know are solid, are like cubes shaped, rectangular prism, spheres. All right, say not enough money. Hey, not enough money. The life of a teacher. I'm telling you. So in order to add to another thought, you have to click onto it. So watch me right now. I am going to click on the word stressful and then press add. That will now create for me a link to stressful. And this is a mind mapping tool. Oh boy, we got 8 minutes left in this session. So that is from MindMeister, everyone. It's a cool tool. It's for free. And I love that collaboration featuring it. It's also awesome if you want to do this, use it for like staff meeting and team building and professional development, you know, to bulk up those boring staff meetings y'all like to have. Yeah, y'all might want to use Nearpod in your staff meetings too. It's not only for children. All right, so let's go on and almost at the end. Now, the last thing I think that I want to show you that can help you modify or your students modify the lesson is by creating stop motion stories. Now, listen, I've been doing research on stop motion stories, and to be honest, I don't know. You know those Lego movies and those, oh my God, they take a shot, they set up a Lego, like if he's standing up like this, they take a picture, then they bend him like this, bend him like that, bend, and then what happens is then they play it. So you know how long that actually takes to do? So, however, you don't have to worry about that. Give it to your children to do. So you want to talk about, I know that a lot of my examples have been talking about like that literacy type of background. Forgive me, but you know, literacy at heart. But rather than doing the sequence of a story, you know, what happens at the beginning, the middle, and end, let them use some Legos in the classroom, or with this example here that I just put on your Nearpod screen, they actually get to draw the scenes out on their paper, and then using your phone, you just click a picture of each one. And then you put it in slideshow for that particular image, and then you'll see a story move. And it brings it to life. Talk about the plant, the life cycle of the plant. Can you imagine that? And the thing is, you need to show the children how it's done, and they figure it out. And of course, there are tons and tons of YouTube videos in terms of, you know, how to get this done and how to do it. And where they watch so many of these stop motion videos, they kind of figure it out too. And that's just using a camera app, and that requires no internet. So with your you can use this to teach recipes, because that's how a lot of those recipes. I was watching the video showing how they create some of those recipe, you know, those tasty recipe videos that'll be for like 3 minutes, and you see how to put everything in the pot. Stop motion. They have a camera that is above them, and it's taking a picture for each step. Click, 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 click. And then after that, when it's time, they play the frames, and it looks as if, you know, they're moving. And so it's one more thing that your students can do. It's another way that you can have your students, there you go, someone's giving another suggestion. You can record the steps of hand washing. You could talk about lab safety too, if that's something in your area. When we look at the steps for long division, each step of the way, and then you just play that on loop, 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 loop. All right, if you need help, look at the example on the board. There you go. And you can have the students create these and then send them to you, and now you have a library of long division problems that are examples that they can use. All right. So that is where I end today. All right. Then I will see you guys next week, same time, same place. Bring a friend. Adios.